Warning, if you run into a mob of women in curly red wigs and caftans, don't panic. It's merely an invasion of Mrs. Ropers taking over your town. My report on an imminent invasion in Canada next on Brio TV, the podcast. Hi, everybody. Bill Brio here. Thank you for joining me. Hey, do you remember the sitcom Three's Company? It originally premiered way back in 1977, but maybe you caught it in reruns. There was Jack and Chrissy and Janet, and it was so saucy for its time, this sitcom about a threesome all under the same roof. Their landlords, the Ropers, were so scandalized, well, they got their own spinoff series. Now, Stanley Roper was played by Norman Fell and his wife Helen by Audra Lindley. Helen wore bright-colored hair and sashayed around all day in a very crazy, colorful caftan. Well, last summer here in Orangeville, about an hour north of Toronto, I was on the main street of this small Ontario town, and suddenly around a corner, there were like 30 Mrs. Ropers. I followed them as they were heading to a local pub. All these people dressed in curly wigs and caftans and wearing chunky jewelry. Well, this wasn't a one-off. The second annual Mrs. Roper's Romp is taking place in Orangeville this Saturday, May 30th. The fun starts at 12 noon at Orangeville Town Hall, with everyone who dressed up and bought a ticket romping away later at a local pub. There's going to be games and trivia contests, too. Telling us all about it on this episode is Sofie Weber, who has organized the Orangeville event after hearing about similar shows across Canada and the United States. And this year, she has a special guest, Canadian actress Stevie Vallance, who played the Roper's young, sort of a runaway tenant, Jenny, on season 2 of the series. This Montreal-born Emmy winner has stories about working with Fell and Lindley, as well as her many other roles on shows such as Knots Landing, the very beginning of that show, back when Stevie was just a teenager, The King of Kensington, Night Eat, and dozens of animated children's shows. So grab your wig and caftan and come and knock on our door for a visit with Sofie Weber and Stevie Vallance.
Yeah. So there she is. There's Mrs. Roper. There's Mrs. Roper. Hi, Mrs. Roper.
Hi, Jenny. I was out looking for Stanley. He's wandered off.
Here's my Jenny wig that I'm going to wear next week.
I'm so excited.
Well, we're joined by Sofie Weber. Sofie is thankfully, Sophie's the one who's brought this whole thing to Orangeville. And I was walking down on Broadway last year, and all of a sudden there's 35 people with the orange wigs and the caftans coming the other way. I really did not know this was happening, and I was just blown away that this was happening. So congratulations, Sofie. What you put on a wonderful show last year, and tell everybody about this year's show that's coming, I believe, Saturday, May the 30th to Orangeville. What's happening for the second annual?
Yeah, it's May the 30th. So, last year was our inaugural Mrs. Roper Romp, and we kind of heard about it through the grapevine. Other towns had done it, and I thought this is a perfect thing for us here in Orangeville. And I've been involved in the community in different aspects over the years, and I thought this would be fun and fantastic to do. So this year, lots of people last year said, oh, how did I not know about this? And, oh, I didn't, they saw us coming. So after that kind of spectacle, there was 47 of us last year. Okay. So after that, people were honking on the street. So we had people join our Facebook group and friends of friends and things like that. So this year we are almost sold out. So that's positive. And every year we do it to benefit a charity locally. So this year we tied it in with Alzheimer's Society of Dufferin County. So the next day, they have their Alzheimer's walk, and we have a team called the Hungover Helens who will be appearing at the walk the next day to donate the money we raise at the romp on the Saturday, the 30th. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, I love giving back to the community, and I'm trying to choose different charities every year. I'm hoping this will be an annual event that will just go bigger and bigger. And I'm kind of shout out to Red Deer, Alberta, who had 400 people.
Wow.
I didn't even know they had 400 people in Red Deer, Alberta. But I'm trying. They're my benchmark. So
well, is it interesting? You see, it's either if your name Orange is in the city or Red. I think that helps, right? That gets you almost envision of Helen from the Ropers,
yes.
With her hair and everything. Now, did you ever imagine that you would have on your second show one of the stars of the Ropers, who actually is Canadian, who lives just up Highway 10, as part of the show?
No, and when she
surprise
came to us, I couldn't have been more thrilled. And you had said on the Facebook, Audra would have loved this. And I am so happy because she was such a, she wasn't a mom, but she was a mom. And, I have little cutouts of quotes that we bring to the romp. And I did extras today. And she said, everybody needs a hug then and now and then. And I think that was one of your clips that she said to you, because she was kind of like your surrogate mom, and she was the surrogate mom of the kids on Three's Company. And, everybody, with the world that it is in the last few, presidential terms across the other side, it's been, we need some color and positivity and inclusivity and love, right? And this is what the romp does. Oh, yeah. And that's, I've been watching all your clips, and it was just, you were so perfect on the show. And when you reached out, I thought, oh my gosh, if we can get her to come here. I was like luring you in. Oh, come judge our hottest Helen. You should see how wild these girls get, Stevie. You are going to have a hard time.
I know. I'm going to have a great time. That's why I'm coming, is Jenny. And I don't know what to expect, Sofie, but it's about time. I just threw these on, Bill.
They're great.
Just to kind of, it's always the opposite on these things. That's Patricia McCormick and Audra and me, and I'm doing, we must increase our bust, which is the story of my lifetime. But at any rate, that there I am teaching her how to dance.
Yeah.
And there's just some fun things that I threw on here just real quick. That's Dina Dietrich, who was the Mother Nature lady. Remember that, Bill? You might be not Sophie's. I remember it's not nice to tease Mother Nature or whatever new she said. She played Audra's sister. That was sort of a name. This is just me probably going over a love letter of Stanley's or something we're looking at there. Another great shot of Audra and me. So yeah, I was kind of her daughter. Here's me and Jeffrey. Jeffrey was great. I learned a lot from Jeffrey and Norman. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to figure out the opposite here.
And we should we're talking about Jeffrey Tambor. People remember from Arrested Development and other shows. But also we should mention Norman Fell was Stanley, and Audra Lindley was Helen on the Ropers, and the Ropers was a spinoff of Three's Company. Just in case anybody isn't quite clear, that's
a lot because I was only on it one season and I had short hair. Some people think, is that Joyce DeWitt? And it's like, no. It was somebody you never heard of. It was only one season I was on, but I was going to be made a regular. And then sitcoms completely changed after that. And there was no more 3-camera, 4-camera kind of things. Yeah. That's where they discover me living in their attic. And then I blossom into this young lady, and they're always trying to get me set up and stuff. And anyway, I just found a few shots. I think I could still look like her with this.
Absolutely. Are you bringing the suspenders?
I have them right here, Sofie. I have my ammo, and here's my name, just so you know. It really did happen.
Absolutely. Season 2. Yeah.
And there's me with I love that picture of me and Norman. It's probably the only one where he's smiling, where I'm.
And you could pass almost for Joyce DeWitt's sister, right? Younger sister.
It could be.
There was
the haircut they gave you. That's why.
That's it. And it was the same hairdressers backstage that were doing. We were right next to Three's Company, our stage for the Ropers, and so we would meet in the cafeteria. John Ritter was always coming over. Suzanne Summers and Joyce were always coming over and just standing there at the back while we filmed the Ropers. They missed Norman, and Audra, and so it was a great fun time at the CBS studios, even though it was ABC.
Okay, I was going to ask Stevie. So it was the CBS studios in the Valley. It was right by. It was at Fairfax and Third. On the other side, in Hollywood, CBS, great big huge studios where they had the farmers market. Yes. Do you remember the farmers market? Oh yeah, the Grove.
That big studio right there, and so many studios would rent from CBS.
So you shot right in Television City.
I guess that's what it was called.
That big white block.
That's what it was. CBS Television City. Correct. You're right. How
exciting! That's pretty cool. I mean,
it was so exciting.
Yeah, I mean everything from the Red Skelton going way back to when that started, and it's really sad. Those places that they still. I think American Idol was shooting there recently and things, but. The CBS has sold that. They don't.
I heard that. I heard that. Yeah, there were so many numbers when there were these lines, like when you go to the hospital, you follow a blue, an orange, or a yellow, whatever. and I get that. I'm like, which room? And it was huge, right? And there were all these cool different shows. MASH. There were different shows going on in different studios. You want to make sure you didn't enter the wrong one. So I get a different color each time I'd arrive because we'd rehearse all week, and then we'd have the live audience come in, and that was so cool, Sophie, the live audience aspect of it. And that's why I think the Roper's Romps are so neat, because they have that live element to it. It's like being on, like what you're just doing right now, dressed up as Mrs. Roper. And I love improv. I love people not having a script and having a little bit of the idea of the character. That's how I like to direct when I direct. But, it's so neat to see people have permission once they put on a wig and they put on an outfit. Those people, they call it the mascot syndrome. A lot of times mascot people are very shy. Give them a microphone or give them whoa, watch out,
Right.
So it's wonderful you're doing this, Sophie.
I love it. So I want to know, how did you find us?
It was, Bill was just asking me. It was literally on Facebook, which is the only social media I do. I just don't need any more, frankly. Right. But so somebody said, come on, you've got to do it. A good friend of mine, Allie Boltman, who I just did a show with. And she said, and I said, I don't know if I want to open the door. I was a little nervous, and I hope it'll be a good experience. I'm sure it will be. And my friend is coming as Mr. Roper. He's driving me. It's a 3.5 hour or 3 hour drive. So I just thought, you were so warm to me, Sophie, and right away. Oh yeah, I don't think you even knew who the hell I was, honestly.
I know who Jenny was because I watched the shows religiously. Oh yeah, I'm 54. I remember this.
I love you more.
Cool toughie in their attic. They found you, and I love that character, and I love that you were like, oh, I don't want to be set up with these guys. They're jerks, and I was like all over that. Yeah, I don't want to be set up with anybody. I can do it all by myself, right?
It's such a full circle for me. It's 46 years or something. It's something unbelievable. Incredible. The amount of time. It is incredible.
I saw that you posted that on your Facebook, and you said, can you believe I'm going to do this again after 46 years? And your friends chimed in. They were like, oh,
a lot of people have wanted me to do it. A lot of people.
Yeah,
people will love it.
I'm so glad you chose ours, because there are other romps out there too.
No.
So
you're my romp girl.
We'll be back with Roper Rompers Stevie Vallance and Sofie Weber after this short message. Well, it's time once again to speak with Emily Gagne at Hollywood Suite. Emily, what do you got for us this month?
It's all about books on film this month, Bill.
Wait a minute, Emily. You mean that some of these films are based on books?
You are right.
Oh,
you
my
heard
goodness.
that right.
Wow.
Yep, we're talking, Fight Club, Pride and Prejudice, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, It, The Wiz, Cape Fear, the 90s one.
Emily, if you're reading a book called Fight Club, what is it? Just go, and then you hit him with the left, and then hit him with the right for like 800 pages?
Well, you'll just have to watch to find out, won't
All
you?
right, we'll check it out. What's your favorite all-time film based on a book?
I don't think you can beat To Kill a Mockingbird.
Great choice. Gregory Peck, classic, very good. I think I like The Little Engine That Could, which was one of those little books you got when you were 4. I don't think that's a film, though, Emily.
I was going to say, what film is that, Bill?
It's probably not a film. Anyway, you've got real films based on books at Hollywood Suite. How much does it cost?
Just $6 a month most
Oh,
places.
that's crazy. You can't even buy a book for that.
No, you can't. I actually was at a bookstore yesterday and it cost me more than $6.
See? Okay, Hollywood Suite, $6, 100% Canadian. Emily, thanks again.
Thanks, Bill.
Come and knock on our door.
And here they are again, Sofie Weber and Stevie Vallance. Did you know of other Roper romps that were in Canada before you did this one, or was it ones that were happening in the States? Where did you hear about this?
Well, so my friend invited me to a romp in Toronto. And I couldn't attend because of the timing. But when I spoke to him after the romp, he said they had so many people come that they had to go across the street to a bar and ask if they could bring half the people there. And then, so once I kind of got wind of how it went, and then I found the CTV segment about the one happening, I think it was one of the first ones in Canada out in Newfoundland, I think in Twillenbury, I think they were called. They were so lovely and positive. They were wandering on the highway, and it looked so fantastic. And so there's a Mrs. Roper Romp group on Facebook, which is Canada and the US. So I got on there and tried to find Canadian based ones. And then I spoke to some organizers, and technically it started out as a pub crawl. But the problem with a pub crawl, and maybe it's a Canadian problem, you lose people after like the third place. So I talked to Niagara, who did one, who said, do not do a pub crawl. They said by the time they got to the third venue, they had 8 people and they started with, 80. And she said like it was, just pick one spot. So I got lots of advice to try to plan that first one. And I wanted to do it the week before Celebrate Your Awesome, which is our Pride event. And I thought this would be a great little tie-in. And they were our charity and food bank. We did both the charities for the first one. And so I kind of researched and spoke to people who've done it and tried to not do the things that they said failed miserably. And then from last year's, we've tweaked what we were doing this year to make it a little more streamlined, less work for everybody, but more fun and prizes. And last year we did a catwalk, but there was no prize because I didn't want like a judgy kind of end of it. But this year, I think we're going to definitely do it with, I've got a sash. We're calling it the Hottest Helen. And
I'm gonna judge it, Bill.
And
That's awesome.
Stevie's, and sorry,
I'm thrilled.
Jenny's going to judge it.
You got to have prizes for sure. Listen,
There's
people
always
love
prizes.
that. Yeah.
The community is so supportive.
And Sophie, which is the bar in Orangeville that you're going to be doing that judging at?
So it's Josie's Tap House. So new owners. So it's the Tap House where it was last year, but now it's called Josie's Tap House.
Perfect.
And that's 34 Mill Street. But we start at Town Hall.
That's all. Well, Town Hall, I remember seeing that, and it's a spectacular picture, and you're going to have I don't know, 80 people. How many? A lot
100,
of
almost over 100.
over 100 people. So hopefully the mayor will also put on a orange wig. And
she doesn't need to. She's a redhead already.
That's
she has
right.
curly red hair. So, but we are definitely we're going to try to get one of the counselors because he's kind of tied in with Alzheimer's Society. So we're going to see if he'll join our team and put on a wig and a caftan. Joe Andrews is we're shouting out to him to see if he'll join us. But
is he going to come as Mrs. Roper or Mr. Roper?
Well, we have no idea. Like I'm trying to get him. I'm trying to get him to join the hottest the hungover Helens at the Alzheimer's walk, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, and farmers market's going on too. Let me tell you, we marched through that Saturday. Farmers market.
Yeah, that's going to be wild. That's fun.
It'll be wild, and it's 100. Like right now, we're at 103.
Crazy. That's amazing.
So what's the cutoff?
So if it's good weather, we don't have a cutoff because then we can go on their patio.
Right.
But if it's bad weather, then inside they have a cutoff, but we also have procured a tent. So probably 150 would be our cutoff, rain or shine.
And do you think, Stevie, like Norman Fell and Audra Lindley, would their minds be blown that this was happening in Canada,
they would be
years later?
They would be so thrilled and like deeply kind people. And Norman was so supportive and, bringing me in, knew I was terrified of being with the old Hollywood bigwigs, and he was especially helpful and warm. So, and they would just be over the moon. They would be absolutely thrilled that this is going on. I can tell you for sure. So
he's an icon, right? And she didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
No, neither one did. I wonder what Jeffrey Tambor thinks.
Yeah.
Because he would be a good person to get on one of those shows, but I'm sure he wouldn't want to have anything to do with it.
They did have Roper.
He would be so mobbed, Yeah.
So, they did a Roper romp on Regis and Kelly.
Oh, hilarious.
In like San Diego live.
Nice.
But I don't think that they brought on anyone from the show, which is unfortunate. I think the only one still around is Jeffrey Tambor, yourself, and Joyce DeWitt.
And Patricia McCormick, who played...
that's right.
Yeah, she's
Jeffrey Tambor's wife.
This lady right there in the middle. That's Patricia. Beautiful woman, beautiful. And she was the mother of the little boy who is now full grown. So we don't know where they are either.
Yeah. You mentioned John Ritter was on the lot and the studio next door. I met him in Toronto. He was promoting 8 Simple Rules just before he died. He came up. CTV was having their upfront. Lovely talk with him.
Such a nice man.
So proud of his son, Jason, who was just starting out. That's really all we talked about. He was just over the moon about his success. So it was a real pleasure to get to meet him. And you had obviously an encounter or two working next door. That's fantastic.
Yeah. They were great people.
And Suzanne Summers, her husband, of course, is from Canada. Mm-hmm. They've been back and forth, and I had a chance to talk to them. So it was a great time, really, television to be involved. And tell us, when you started, Stevie, you I believe you were from Montreal originally, and then you studied in New York and found your way eventually. Is that true? And then you eventually...
No, very nice. I'm so glad that you read about me.
And then
thanks.
You made your way to LA, and my goodness, you're on this Red Hot Soap Knots Landing, like almost right out of the chute. How did that happen?
That was my first show. I played the bad girl. That's me. And it was just before I did the Ropers. It was my first show into the SAG union. I played this singer. I was only 20. And I was working at the Jade West, right across in the Century City Mall. I don't know if you remember that, Bill. Right in Century City, there was it's called an ABC was there, and anyway, Playboy Club was there. Right across from the Playboy Club was. And I broke up. I played the bad girl before they brought on Donna Mills, and I broke up. The very first season, I broke up Kenny and Ginger, and I was the singer, and that's Kenny. Most of my scenes are with Kenny, and this is me giving him hell because he's trying to get back with his wife. I know anything. I was 20 and I had to play this sexy woman, and that was a real stretch for me. So, so I did that for a couple of years. It was a recurring role, got me into the union, and then the next thing was I got the Ropers. And back then, Bill, you had to choose. You couldn't be on two networks. I don't think they care now because there's like no such thing as networks. There's so many different streaming things they can't keep track. But back then it was like, oh no, you can't do, because they would compete against each other to sell you, you know. So at the time, being offered a regular role on the Ropers, which is what I would have been had the show continued, I chose the regular role, and then I couldn't be on Knots Landing anymore. And right after that, they got another bad girl, and that was Donna Mills. And of course, she became the most famous bad girl on the show. But yeah, I was a bad girl before I even knew what a bad girl was. Well,
certainly you were the Canadian bad girl. So
I was, and it was so thrilling. It was such a Hollywood story to be. I was singing a Jade West. In comes David Jacobs. I had auditioned for the role of Ginger, who I ended up breaking up her marriage later. I almost got that role, but the network didn't think I had any American experience, which I didn't. And so he remembered, he showed up at Jade West. I'm singing, you know, show tunes or something right across from Broadway tune, and then disco, Donna Summers, Gloria Gaynor. And he comes up, he says, how'd you like to break up Kenny and Ginger on Knots Landing? And it was a Hollywood story. And I joined the union. That was my very first job. So
fantastic.
It was very, very wonderful.
I met David Jacobs when I was working for TV Guide Canada in LA. And he was, I think we met at Arts Deli in the Valley. And he was saying how he would, you know, get notes from the waitresses at Arts Deli as to who to break up, what unions to start on Knots Landing, or it's where he got all his hot tips. So pretty hilarious.
He told me that he used to live in New York, and he was the golden boy of Lorimar at the time. And so he was the one who came up with the idea to do a spinoff of Dallas into Knots Landing. Yeah. And there was actually a cul-de-sac, which is like the end of a street. Right. There's a lot of cul-de-sacs in Hollywood, in LA, in the Valley, and stuff. But anyway, he used to sit in New York. He used to notice that all of the high rises, you know, were next to each other, and you could just basically look out your window and kind of go, "Oh, what are they watching?" You know, you could really you could really eavesdrop. So he started thinking about how, you know, this group of people that would all basically, you know, it was the first Sex in the City. All the women used to be glued to their TV for Knots Landing, and they had what were the other ones? Falcons Crest, and what were the other
Dallas.
ones? Dallas was the first one.
Oh,
but
yeah.
then all these nighttime
that
soaps
religiously. They love JR.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, he made an appearance on Knots Landing, and there was a connection with Joan Van Ark's character to Dallas.
It was Gary. Gary was
Ewing.
His brother. He was
That's
Ewing.
right.
Yes.
Gary and Val came over to Knots Landing.
Yeah,
exactly.
But quite a different show from the Ropers, which was comedy, sitcom. So I was going back and forth across the MGM lot, which is where Lorimar was on one side of town, past Westwood, and then over to where I told you where the CBS studio was, Television City, and changing characters on the way sometimes. You know, completely different space to be the bad girl, very serious, sexy. I didn't even know what sexy was. And then this kind of girl on the Ropers, you know.
You said you were a nerd.
I was a nerd, and I had to learn a New York accent, so they didn't know I was from Canada. And if you listen carefully, you know, you'll hear a bit of that New York tough girl. And I love that you love that, Sophie. That's really neat.
I think that all that switching helped you with all your voice acting.
That's right.
Thank you.
You could be a little bit schizophrenic there and just pick one of whoever you are.
Well, even before that, before we get to your extensive credits in animation, you did more acting in Canadian shows. So you'd have to come back and do Night Eat and sort of still have the New York accent, even though you were in a Canadian show, I guess, right?
Yeah, I could lose accents pretty well. Yeah. I'm just switching this so my head isn't on myself. Oh my God, I was Mouse on ReBoot, who was Southern accent Mouse, and she had a digitally perfect rear end. I don't know if you remember the show, Mouse, and I got to meet my animator, and I at a Christmas party, and everybody introduced us. Honey, how'd you make my rear end walk like that? So he literally, I wore black pants. I remember it was a Christmas party. It was in Vancouver. We recorded that, and he taught me how to walk like Mouse. That was cool. And let's see, I was Proud Heart Cat, Belle the Carrier, Bear movies. Oh, I was shit. I was Proud Heart Cat, the cat in the original series, and then they made me Cher Bear on the movies, who had a very similar voice. I share and I care. and who else?
Polly Pocket.
Oh yeah, Polly Pocket. I can't remember my character on that. Actually, I've done thousands, and not including thousands because you have to audition, so you learn the character whether you get the role or not. But I'd say hundreds I've been cast as.
Well, so many that you became
Miss Clavel on Madeline, 12 little girls,
and that's
so that was a French accent, and they didn't want Parisian. They wanted. I learned Parisian French, and they thought out of LA, they had me direct it. That was my first directing in Vancouver. Right. But they thought all French accents were Parisian, but they didn't realize we talk like this, huh? It's not at all. So they brought me all these little girls from Canada, and I'm like, no, honey, we have to teach you what a real French. And then, of course, the Americans made me change words from croissant to croissant, and in order to work for the American TV. So that was a very interesting accent indeed. That was sort of a compromise of American and Parisian and French Canadian. Well, and I played the dog on that show.
You were doing it all so well. You won an Emmy directing for.
I did. Look at this. I can't believe I've done this for you. There's Ms. Clavel and Genevieve, and that's the two roles I played. But I played many roles on that show. And directed it. And there were many different little girls that came on the show over the 10 years because they grow up. So we would have the littlest taught because we had 6 little girls and they all doubled voices. Wow. And anyway, that was a fantastic experience. And 10 years later, the show won an Emmy and they mailed it to me. And I haven't got it to show you. And I should have brought you my Emmy.
Where do you keep your Emmy?
I've got it downstairs, and I'll go get it for you, Bill.
No. I just wondered.
I can't believe I forgot.
I'm just curious.
I prepared for this show. Look at how many pictures I got.
You should bring it to the Roper Romp and give it to the hottest.
There's Cher Bear.
No,
there's Cher Bear.
Do not bring your Emmy.
I was also
getting a sash.
Tigrera on Bakugan. And this is a good one. Mrs. What was her name? Wilson on Dennis the Menace. I was Mrs. Wilson. And I was also Gina. And I was Dixie. Dixie on Donkey Kong. There's a few for you. And the Popples. I was Party Popple. And of course, I didn't get a picture of this one. I should have. Oh, here's a Canadian series I was on. Night Heat.
Night Heat, of course, yeah.
That was what kind of brought me back to Toronto, actually, doing a lot of the co-pros in Canada. But I've been living in LA for 15 years before they discovered me. And this is the digitally rear end girl. This is the mouse character that is very famous on ReBoot. There you go. That's my show and tell, Sophie. Sorry to have
No, I love it. I love it. I knew some of them. I knew you were Cher Bear because Care Bears was my kind of tail end generation, and Care Bears is a bit of a cult thing, and there's a lot of. If you go down to like Comic-Con, there's a lot of Care Bear fuzzy furry people running around that way. So Care Bears are definitely turning into their own little iconic thing.
It's neat to see the ones that last. I mean, Care Bears lasted. And that's what's so cool about the Ropers thing is that it had really faded, other than Three's Companies. And so this Mrs. Roper thing is just like, I say it's Audra working it. She's bringing it back and it's really being appreciated all over again. And this life is like that. It's just these circles and I'm thrilled to be part of it.
Yeah, people are dressing up they're bringing their wigs and caftans to cruises in the States and getting on a cruise and seeing if there's other rompers on that cruise. And in the Facebook group that's kind of international, they'll be like, hey, is anyone on the blah blah going to Bahamas? And then they create their own group. And there's a picture where a bunch of Helens meet the Golden Girls. So that's
fabulous.
The next one. But that's for the Helens are definitely stronger because it's one character. But the Golden Girls, you have to fight it out to see who you'll be, right?
And Sophie, it's true, isn't it? I think you explained this. You can actually go on Amazon and just order a Mrs. Roper costume, right?
Yeah,
they literally have
much.
Them, yeah,
the wig, the earrings. Yeah. So when I first decided we were going to do this, I ordered a whole bunch of wigs and tried them all. And so some were too orange. So like, cause this is more her hair color. I did buy a darker one because I think earlier in the show she was more ready. And then as she went to the Ropers and she got a little more kind of strawberry blondie-ish ready. So yeah, I tested wigs and, returned them when I could and said, okay, these are our favorite wigs. Some came with, her jewelry, yellow earrings and things. And there's caftans. One of our local stores is bringing in caftan style essentials. She's bringing in caftans for people locally. But my sister, she raided our grandma's closet and she luckily fits perfectly into all her caftans, which she's wearing, the second one this year but last year she came all dressed up and people were like, where did you find that? And it's original from the era. Perfect. And I actually found some old fabric at a store in Toronto that sells vintage fabrics. And I've started a hobby of sewing. So I'm going to try to sew a caftan in time. We'll see.
Wow.
We'll see if it's pretty simple, but since I'm only learning, simple is hard.
More on this year's Roper Romp in Orangeville in just a moment. May is set to be an adrenaline-fueled month on Paramount+. The excitement begins on May 15th with the global debut of Dutton Ranch. The Yellowstone sequel features fan favorites Beth and Rip as they gamble on a new life in South Texas. The momentum continues on May 21st with the return of SkyMed as Season 4 takes flight in the unforgiving Canadian North. This month also features the historical thriller Nuremberg, debuting May 6. Sports fans have a front row seat on May 10 for live Zuffa boxing. From the gritty law enforcement of Marshals, with the season finale streaming May 25th, to the weekly mysteries of From and the streaming debut of Bob Hart's Abishola on May 15th, Paramount Plus is delivering a powerhouse lineup of premium entertainment from start to finish. And we're back. Do both of you, I wonder about this, people really cherish a lot of these characters, people who grew up with Mary Tyler Moore or, Cheers or different shows like that. They seem to have a connection. I know when they brought back the Connors, which was based on Roseanne, it was almost heartening to see them again, to see, I wonder how they're doing. They looked a little older, but don't we all, you have this connection. Do you find that beyond the Ropers that, are there shows that you grew up with, both of you, that you feel that way about those characters and wonder how they're doing today?
Oh, well, when you said Mary Tyler Moore, I remember being a little kid throwing like my little hat up in the air.
Nice.
For her, for like the end of her, like the beginning of her show theme. And at the end, she throws her hat up. I remember doing that all the time because I loved Mary Tyler Moore. And I grew up in a very patriarchal home and, where you kind of need a man and get married. And I loved Mary Tyler Moore because she did not need anyone and she was doing it all herself. But yeah, it was definitely Mary Tyler Moore. I watched Three's Company. This was something, these are the sitcoms I grew up on. It was, and when you look at it today, it was so progressive, right? The shows were so progressive and gave people voices. Like Jack pretended to be gay. And even though, Stanley was kind of closed-minded towards it, they love them anyway, right? But then, he got protective of him. And same with when they spin off into the Ropers, they found you kind of hiding in their attic. Like this was,
I was homeless. I was homeless, basically.
Yeah.
I was a street urchin, they call it.
Yeah.
With no,
they
no-
dressed you like one too. I always thought, oh, why is she dressed like Tiny Tim? Like they kind of dressed you like, and the short hair and
they thought, suspenders were so way out back then, right? To put a girl in suspenders. Whoa.
Well, Mork was our suspender guy, right?
That's right.
Like, so many of those characters, like, were, lived on and.
Well, like Sophie, it's like you said, Jimmy Kimmel brought back some shows with Norman Lear. They did some recreations of the original scripts from the All in the Family and Good Times, and it was fascinating because some of the dialogue that they actually had in 1971, they couldn't do today. It was too progressive, or now maybe was not seen as politically correct, but in a way it was more liberating and groundbreaking, and it did speak to the times. You had in the wake of
one.
Yeah, and like Nixon was president of the United States, and a lot of this stuff was pushed back, and a flowering of culture that is being clamped down again today, right?
Yeah, the Jeffersons, like.
The censor board was much stronger. The censor board couldn't get anything. That was a big deal. Everything had to be passed by them. And I think things are just so fast now, Bill, they just get through. They just get past the censor board, or people do their own things without a censor board. And I'm glad they're getting back to those times. I am.
Stevie, do you remember where there, because Three's Company was kind of like, it was sometimes characterized as a jiggle show, like it was a sexy show sitcom for the time.
How about Bosom Buddies? That was another one where the guys were playing women, and I was on that show.
Were you? Okay.
Yeah.
But do you remember controversies, things where we have to rewrite the script, that things
all the time, even while we were shooting, even the Ropers, the censors would be down there, things would be cleared, papers would come in, we'd have to redo a scene, take a word out. Absolutely. It was really conscious about offending other people, not being diplomatically correct. Nothing like today's times. Like today's times.
Interesting. Yes. I'm going to ask a couple of nerdy little details because I just am curious. There's a show you were on in Canada. My goodness, I got to look it up. I know you were in Kensington.
I hope I can remember.
Okay, well.
King of Kensington. I was 14 when I worked with Al Waxman. And then when I did Night Heat, 20 years later, he directed me on Night Heat, which was neat to work with him. But what's the young man's name? David. What is his last name? King of Kensington. He played the young boy, and I was like, I don't totally remember, but I think I was a love interest for him. I did one episode. I was 13 or 14. It was one of my very first shows, was King of Kensington. Jeez. And police surgeon. Okay. I was really young on that. Yeah.
I've got to ask about that because no one remembers police surgeon.
I don't remember police surgeon.
But from what I understand, and it literally, the title is just the whole show.
I think I was 12.
It was a medical show and it was a cop show.
But Sam Groom was
the star.
I was such a crush on him, and I was 12.
There you go. But John Candy was on Police Surgeon a couple of times.
I love it. John and I were buddies in LA, not real big buddies.
Really?
We'd lunch a couple of times. All Canadians kind of knew each other in LA.
Wow.
We kind of hung out together. Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah,
That's
he was
cool.
a very, very nice man. Beyond nice. Such a sweetie. Yeah.
Yeah. No one has a discouraging word. That was a great documentary they did last year on him.
One of the shows I got to mention, Bill, that I forgot to mention, which was huge in my life, and I'm sorry, Sophie, I just have to mention this, was Zoobilee Zoo. I was, this is me, the pink girl there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that, Sophie, that I was on Zoobilee Zoo.
I don't even know what this is.
So this was a children's series starring Ben Vereen.
Yeah.
And then we were all these half animal, half humans, and Hallmark produced it. And that was sort of while I was starting to get into animation in LA. I got this role where we had to dress. It was like when Cats was big. Half anthropomorphic characters were really in half, and it's still huge on YouTube right now. And a lot of the Zoobaroos that watched Zoobilee Zoo that were like 3 are now grandparents, and so there's a big resurgence of Zoobilee Zoo on YouTube right now, and we're actually celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. So if this was my voice, and I was a pink 9-year-old kangaroo. And it was a huge part of my life, and I'm thrilled.
Hilarious.
Like the Ropers coming back through this romp, I feel there's magic in the air. That these things that you think, oh, they're just, I'm an old lady and they're just memories. It's like wonderful that I can appreciate them on this side still, again, with these people. So it's an incredible family.
And Stevie, who are some of your voice heroes? I mean, June Foray was a classic example.
For sure, June. A little before my time, but June, oh my God, what's her name on The Simpsons? Come on. Nancy Cartwright. Nancy Cartwright. Sure. There's many women that I'm going to think of afterwards. Debbie Derryberry now in LA does tons of voices, teaches classes. I did teach for many years.
And several Canadians, right? Maurice LaMarche.
Maurice LaMarche and I worked on, here, I've got it right here. This was a great show called Inspector Gadget.
Oh, yes, we watched that.
I was Spydra and he was the parrot. He played Boris the parrot, who always talked back to me. And Spydra was like this. Oh, Boris, shut up, Boris. That is another one of these wonderful. And he was like he alienated me all the time. Anyway, he recorded in LA. We did 70 episodes of that, and I recorded in Toronto. I always went back and forth because I'd been doing something in one of the cities. And started the CBS back with Night Heat was the first co-pro ever to happen. So lots of those productions came from Night Heat. And I was part of that world. I'm so blessed to have been able to do that.
And Stevie, when did you first realize you could do voices professionally?
Bill, it just beat waiting tables. It really was, I always wanted to do I always wanted to do character work. And, but I was living in the blonde hair, big boobs, tiny nose era. Farrah Fawcett, Morgan Fairchild, you name it. Heather Locklear. They were, and I was like too ethnic looking, but yet I wasn't character enough looking. I'd often get the girl next door like Jenny or the Holly Hunter type of roles. And I just was really stifled. I felt very much in a box and I couldn't break out of it. So Marcia Goodman, my savior, said, how about you start doing some work for Deke? So most of my work was with Deke, D-I-C. They don't exist anymore. And a lot, Hanna-Barbera and Mattel and various, and I just started doing it. Kept it off my resume. No, I wanted to be a sex symbol still. And so I didn't want people to know that so I kept it off my resume. And then lo and behold, which I really want to go and get you, I got into directing. The same woman, Marcia Goodman, said, how about, I'm going to have a baby. How about you go to Vancouver and direct Madeline for me? And we only had FedEx. We didn't have any kind of ability. So I was really on my own. And we did 70 episodes over 10 years and me playing many, many roles. So it just blossomed into something that was this sideline career, which many years later, a decade or more after I'd been doing it, then it became the hippest thing that I ever got involved with, was cartoons. Never thought it was going to be a cool thing. If you think about it, June Foray, you never really heard about her at the time. Right. It was later, everybody goes back, oh, June Foray, wasn't she amazing? But at the time, it was almost like a complex. It was sort of like the network wanted you to be quiet. They wanted little kids not to know that there were people dressed up in behind microphones doing the voices.
Well, it was only Mel Blanc who ever got credit. You're right, for all those Warner's tunes.
That's it.
June Foray was really people. There's some in the animation. Jerry Beck, I just interviewed, who's an animation historian. And
absolutely, Jerry.
He says Mel Blanc was the June Foray of male voices, not the other way around. She did Rocky the Squirrel.
Absolutely. But there were many women, and Betty Boop. Yeah. And what's her name?
Mae
this is terrible.
Questel?
Yes. Yeah. And anyway, I run a group on Facebook called what's it called now? I keep changing the name. Animation Voiceover Acting or cartoon, something like that. It's basically, and it's got over 4,000, maybe 5,000 members on it now, and they're all character actors. And so this is a basic discussion all the time. Is we're always putting up the voice. Who did that voice? Like the Rice Krispie guys. That came up the other day. How come we don't know who they are?
Snap, crackle, and pop.
Yeah, like there's so many, we know them as voice actors. I'm not
Thurl
very good at it.
Ravenscroft was Tony the Tiger. I know that. That's but I don't know Snap, Crackle, and Pop.
Well, that this would be a conversation to have separate, who
That's
plays the voices of things, because my memory also won't remember them. But it's been an ongoing politically incorrect thing for many decades, and it's finally changing. That voice actors who are brilliant and they don't need the physical, although you use the physical. You see how animated I am. And that's what I teach in my workshop is get over the fact that a microphone's in front of you. Just plant your feet in the floor and then be as big as you can with your body. That's what makes a good voice. It's not just a voice where you're standing here going, right? Your whole body gets into it. And then the energy is there. So don't get me teaching voiceover. But
it's great. And then I've seen clips on videos of you starting with a laugh, and that's where you find a voice and tricks like that. So it's quite interesting.
Thank you for noticing that. Yeah, starting with a laugh, let's say, is a simple character. Then you talk from there. And then you start with a laugh, Sofie, and then you come out of it. And that's how I would direct you. If you get Mrs. Roper's laugh down, just watch one time where she's laughing and then start with a laugh and then out of that and comes the voice. And the character will lock in at that point, Well, anyway, don't get me teaching.
No, listen, I was thinking you should give a class at the Roper Romp. I think people would be fascinated.
Oh, there's lots of things I could do.
There'll be a lot of alcohol, Bill. They won't be able to follow. We have someone from the show. And when
such a flash, 46 years. We're
going to post lots of pictures to the Roper Romp International page, and they will lose their minds. This is a coup.
Has anyone ever had a guest from the show on a Roper Romp?
No, I don't think so.
No, someone who acted on it. That's the first.
No, this is like the universe came in because this is a joyful thing.
I'm thrilled. I'm honored. I was telling Bill before you joined the show that it was kind of a heartbreak for me when the show didn't get picked up. I felt a little responsible. I know it's ridiculous, but they had brought me on to save the show and to be the maternal. They needed something, Mrs. and Mr. Roper, so that and it was really darling. It's nobody's fault, but I was telling Bill that the sitcom, 3 cameras, 4 cameras, they just stopped. The live audience thing completely went away, and soap operas and full productions and editing, the live aspect, and maybe that's why I went into cartoons, because actually that's your answer right there. That's why I went to cartoons, because it has that musical comedy live with a theater feeling, which is really what I love.
Well, listen, both of you, thank you so much for being so generous with your time.
Thanks,
it's a pleasure.
Bill, nice to meet you, Bill, and Sofie. Nice to meet you both.
So looking forward to seeing you both on Saturday. And this is the Roper Romp. Look it up. More Roper Romp Orangeville. It's going to be spectacular. Sofie, hats off for pulling this together for a second year. Really, really, you've done an amazing job. It's brought color to Orangeville like never before.
Yeah,
and, it's
community and love. That's all. We're all about positivity, community, and love. It's a great day.
There you go. Perfect way to end this. All right. Thank you again, both very, very much. Hey, thanks again to Sophia and Stevie, and if you're in the area, look for them Saturday, May 30th, starting at 12 noon in front of Orangeville's City Hall. You've never seen so many orange wigs, so Orangeville is the right place for this romp, that's for sure. So, speaking of Orangeville, aren't you glad Phil Hong produced this episode, huh? He has great appeal. Kudos, as always, to BJ Del Conte, Paul Boudreau, and Stephen Dudley for the music heard on this podcast. And finally, thanks to you, listener. If you liked what you heard, please spread the word. I'm Bill Brio. Thanks for listening.